Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's up, Heat Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Heat versus the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Without further delay, let's meet today's correspondents. First, we got George.
What's up, guys?
And we got Orchard.
What's up, Heat Nation?
All right, so to begin today's episode, let's talk about how the Heat began their second round series against Philly with a W as the Heat took care of business against the Sixers. Leading the way for Miami, you got Tyler Herro with 25 points, 4 triples, and 7 assists. Bam Adebayo with 24 points while being 8 of 10 from the field. He also had 12 rebounds and 4 assists. Jimmy Butler with 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. PJ Tucker with 10 points and 7 rebounds of his own, and Gabe Vincent with 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. With the Heat starting the series off on a great note, what's everyone's reactions to watching the Heat win this first game? Start us off, George.
Yeah, huge game. Really was the tone setter for us. We have a lot of pressure on our shoulders with Embiid out to really get these games under our belt because we don't know when he's going to come back, but we want to be in the best position when he does. But, after a subpar first half, we came back and outscored them in the second half, 56-41. So that's a very good effort against the team that is hungry for. They've got championship aspirations as well. But, we ended up playing some of our best basketball in the second half. A lot of guys stepped up. A lot of people that we needed to stepped up with Kyle Lowry out. It's been something of a struggle when he's been out. We really rely on his playmaking, and when he's not there, we really do feel it. But once the team gets it going and really, plays their strengths, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with playing the way we do. And when you got Tyler Herro dropping 25 off 53% shooting, you got aggressive Bam shooting 8 from 10. It's just a really, really, really real godsend to have those players come out for us. Even when Jimmy wasn't having the best offensive night, we weren't having the best offensive night. We were shot 25% from 3, and we still won by 14. So it is what it is. We played well. We deserved to win. They had some good performers themselves, but not their team effort was quite low, in my opinion. They had nice stretches in the first half, and the second half they just couldn't hold us. They couldn't handle us, and we ended up taking the W.
Right, and you, Orchard?
Man, this was a roller coaster of a game, I must say. But first off, I'm extremely happy that we took game 1 of the series. And especially, everyone loves when their home team wins games. And especially game 1 because it gives you great momentum to start the series off. We had an amazing start to the game. I think we started off 18-6. But, after that, we were starting to collapse a little bit. And especially in the second quarter, that second quarter was extremely hard to watch. Kind of made me miss Kyle. I miss Kyle Lowry so much, but when you watch that second quarter, that was just, I really hoped he would be on the floor, and prayers that he does better and comes back soon. But we had 10 turnovers in the first half, and obviously we blew our lead, and the Sixers took a 1-point lead at the end of the half. But that second half was a complete turnaround, and this doesn't surprise me. I remember I was reading a bunch of chats after the first half ended, and a lot of people were worried that we blew the lead. But I'm like, I feel like, especially in the playoffs, Miami's been that type of team where they kind of go a little slow in the second quarter. And I think they did it a couple times against the Hawks last series where they had a bit of a slow first half, but in the third quarter, they really turned it up. And some fourth quarter, they struggled, and the others, they were able to close out. And that's exactly what happened. And I think a big reason for that was that we didn't turn the ball over that much in the second half. I believe we had only 1 turnover in the second half, which was a shot clock violation at the end of the game. Herro and Bam were a lot more confident. Definitely compared to last series. And Jimmy Butler, he obviously had like George was saying, had a poor offensive game with only 15 points. And I saw that he got his wrist wrapped around. I don't know if he got injured there or not, but it's fine. It's fine by me because Bam and Tyler both stepped up and Jimmy carried us throughout the Hawks series. So it's only fair that he gets to have a bit of a poor game and we can still win the game. PJ Tucker was also amazing. He grabbed 7 rebounds and 5 of them were offensive rebounds. I just absolutely love PJ Tucker. He does everything for us. He can generate offense when he hits those corner threes. I love his floaters. And again, like I said before, his effort of getting offensive rebounds. I feel like he's a lot more aggressive than a lot of other people on the floor. And he definitely fits Heat culture. Our 3-point shooting, on the other hand, was a big concern for us. We shot 25%, but honestly, it was a concern, and I hope we can resolve that. But because the Sixers also shot pretty bad from 3, because I believe they only hit 6 threes on 17% shooting, it wasn't really that big of a concern for me because they kind of cancel out. And I think one of the reasons our 3-point shooting has been struggling is because Lowry's out. If you look at a pattern, and since Kyle's been out, we've actually hit a lot less 3-pointers. And I just think that just comes with the fact that how important Lowry is to our team and generating offense. And, besides that, I think making our free throws is also extremely critical. I think free throws are one of the most important things because sometimes at the end of games, it can be just, you look back and you're like, if he had made these many free throws, we would have won the game. And we only missed 1 free throw. So I was really happy with that. Strus had a bit of a below average game. I would have liked to see him score more, but I think for me, I like the part that he held Harden to 1-5 shooting when he was on Harden. So I'm kind of surprised by that. I'm not gonna lie. And then the last thing I want to talk about is Miami's defense. I think the biggest concern for us at the moment and throughout the series is going to be Tyrese Maxey, of course, assuming Embiid doesn't come back. We held Maxey to under 20 points, so I'm really happy with that. I hope we can keep up that defensive effort. There were a lot of easy buckets I think he got that we could have prevented, but if we're keeping him under 20 points, that is enough for me. And then James Harden, we also held under 20 points. And I saw a lot of analysts saying that he was going to score like 27 plus. So I love to see Miami proving the analysts wrong. And we also, this might not seem as critical, but we also held Korkmaz and Niang to, I believe, 3 points combined. I believe Niang scored 0, Korkmaz 3. I feel like both those guys can just suddenly become random Heat killers. And I really thought that Niang was going to go off against us, but hey, he scored 0 points, and I can't remember. I was looking at his stats, and I don't think he scored like 0 points in a very long time. So overall, again, it was a roller coaster of a game. A lot of things, a lot of doubt. We had a lot of bad moments and a lot of great moments, and thankfully we're able to have more great moments and take the win.
Right. And, to go back on that point you made about Jimmy, like not having that game that we saw in that series against Atlanta, what was so cool about it was the fact that he didn't get to play at all in that 4th quarter. It was just good to see him relax and let the team take care of business. And George, I know you got something you want to add.
Yeah, no, it's I wanted to really focus on the on the Philly side of the ball. They really go towards that foul baiting type of play where they drive hard most of the possessions if they can't find that open 3, and they chuck their bodies at the defender and they try to muster as many calls as possible. And it's not the way you win a championship. And I'm not saying it's the unkind way of winning it. I'm saying that that's not going to win you a championship at all. Without Embiid, they look lost most of the time. And it's a game of runs. People were losing their minds when it was 51-50 at halftime. It's a game of runs. We were up by 15 earlier in that quarter, or 14 earlier in that quarter. Also in that half. And the way that people react is just, it's unbearable sometimes, but that's just another story for another day. It's a game of runs. You need to really buckle down. You could be down 8, you could be down 10, with 8 minutes left, and the game could swing. It's the way it is. People look towards the a time where a 15-point lead with 6 to 8 minutes left is a sure done deal, and it's not. We're way beyond that. Where the 3 ball's so predominant. But if you're looking at Philly, Tobias Harris had an amazing game. Really, he did 11 of 18. He really does like to take it to us in that way. and really put our defenders under pressure, taking that mid range and shooting. He only shot 1 from 4, but I remember that 3, and it was quite demoralizing at the time. But he's going to have to perform for them while Embiid's off the floor all the time. So is Tyrese Maxey, so is Harden, and that still might not be enough. They've got one of the worst benches in the NBA, and remaining, they've got the worst bench out of any team remaining right now. So, look, it's going to be from here on out trying to limit their 3 stars as much as they can. Tyrese Maxey's got this explosive first step, which really gives us trouble. It did in the past. He only had 19 yesterday and went, his plus minus was -25. So negative on defense for Harden as well, and Harris. But look, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to. If Embiid's out for the series, we shouldn't be able to sweep this team. We really, really shouldn't. But if you're looking back on our side as well, with Jimmy Butler having the biggest game, he played more of the role of baiting the defense to believing that he was trying to have that massive game. And look, he shot for 16 shots. There's no doubt he was trying to go for a high scoring game. But the fact that Bam and Tyler were able to get going off the back of that is perfect for us, because if we have another game where Bam went 14-6 and Tyler had a really inefficient shooting night, we would have been in the dumps really, really bad, badly. But Tyler's playmaking really, really showed out for us as well, because he was responsible for so many points in the time that we needed him to score. And when he passes the ball like that with Kyle Lowry out, it just shows why he's the best, the best 6 man in the NBA. And he's one of the most up-and-coming young guards in the league. So, big props to them. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's going to be, a fun series nonetheless.
Right. And, just what a game, to be honest. And I want to quickly go back to Tyler and Bam, because, we look at them as the future of this team. And, I know a lot of Heat fans wanted them to come out strong for this series after seeing them struggle a bit against Atlanta. So when revisiting the game, what impresses you guys the most about these two's performances? You can start us off, Orchard.
I mean, obviously, they both kind of struggled in round 1. I'd say especially Tyler, because when I think of Bam struggling, I feel like his solution is he needs to be a little more aggressive, take more mid-range shots. But with Herro, it's a little more different, because he draws a lot more defenders. He has to take a lot more tougher shots. And I'm not trying to discredit Bam in any way. Don't get me wrong. I think they both had their struggles in round 1. And I think the important part about it is just forgetting about the past, move on, and do what you need to win. And they both definitely did that. Herro, you could kind of tell, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I could just kind of tell at the start of the game, he seemed more hesitant to shoot. Like, I saw him passing a couple of good looks he had, but I think he just needed to get that spark. Once he got that spark, that was it. He hit a couple shots, and after that, I think he just couldn't be stopped. He was shooting from really long range, and I think that was one of the big things that he was really struggling with then against Atlanta, was his 3-point shooting, whether it was contested or open. And the fact that he went from that to this series where he's hitting super long threes kind of gives me vibes to when he was playing in his rookie season against Boston. I kind of got that vibe from this game. So I really like to see that. And I actually read that Tyler outscored Philly's bench. I think it was like 25, or I think he scored 27. So like 27-25. And that's absolutely amazing. I mean, I just need NBA to announce the 6 man of the year award already. And the big thing is Tyler's growth. I mean, last year, statistically, if you look at it, he didn't really struggle. He had a lot better season than his rookie season. But if you watch the game, we knew that he was definitely off. He wasn't the Herro that we knew he was. And I think this year, his growth from last year has really helped him become more confident. I feel like last year, if Herro had struggled in round 1 and we had went past the Bucks and went on to round 2, I think Herro would have still struggled. But I think his development into the offseason has, helped him become more confident, and he lets go. He's able to overcome his struggles better. And, in terms of Bam, there's no one on that team that can guard him. I think the biggest person that can hold him back is Embiid, and he's not playing. So I think Bam recognized that well, took advantage of it, and had his best game this season so far.
Right.
Postseason.
It's just such a good thing to see. And, you were close. So it's 25-25. So Tyler basically had the same amount of points as the 76ers bench, but still impressive because you look at that and it just shows, like, first of all, it just shows how poor Philly's depth is right now. And it just shows how elite Tyler has been for the Heat throughout the season, Like, as we mentioned before, he didn't have maybe the best series against Atlanta, but he showed out, and that's what you love from him. He came out and did his thing. And I think it's also fitting that he did all this while we're just waiting for that 6th Man of the Year announcement to come out soon, because it should be coming out any day. So we'll see what happens. And George, how about you?
Yeah, just put it out there. They scored 21 bench points altogether, and that was with Frank Korkmaz coming off in garbage time and putting up 9 points. So you take away that, and Charles Bassey, who scored 2 points. That's 11 points off the 21. They scored, really, in the actual game, they scored 10 bench points. So it was nothing short of a dominant performance by Herro. But I'll just put this out there. This time last year, if I'm not wrong, the Heat fan base was absolutely begging for the Heat to move on from Tyler Herro in any capacity. I saw a trade, for some ridiculous, stupid trade, where I think it revolved like Malcolm Brogdon and a first-round pick, in the first and second-round pick from the Heat and Tyler Herro to move for Malcolm Brogdon. So, what a way we've come to where he's been one of the best players, not only off the bench, but in our team, and one of the best young guards left in the crop right now. So he's been fantastic. But going to Bam quickly, I want to focus on Bam a little bit more. He has this effect on people where people think he's, because of, all the news that he was supposed to be shooting threes this season and supposed to be taking a much more of an aggressive stance. People really expect him to have that Pascal Siakam sort of confidence moving to the rim. Now, the big difference between them two is Pascal is the first option on that team. It's not even close. It's Pascal than everybody else. Now, with Bam is the third option right now. He really, really is. It's Jimmy, then it's Tyler, then it's Bam. Bam likes to take that back seat, but when he likes to turn it on, he will, and he does. So people need to stop pushing him to do all this stuff that he doesn't have the ability to do, because the ball's in his hands half the time now. It's different when they're asking for those players to start passing him the ball and getting him more involved. I agree with that. I think that's the best scenario moving forward. He should be our second option at any point in time. But until the coaches make that decision and implement those type of plays with him, we won't see that type of production. But until then, we're going to enjoy it as much as possible. Now moving to Tyler Herro. Herro was called by Shaq yesterday the second coming of Mike Miller. Now, I don't think I've heard more disrespect towards Tyler Herro in my entire life. In Mike Miller's tenure in Miami, he averaged, in order, 5 points, 4 points, and 6 points. Now, 5, 6, and 4 points off the bench. Tyler Herro averaged 20, 21, or 22 off the bench this season, and it's not even, he outscored him in one season. So I don't know where he was going with that. I understand what the metaphor was, but could have chosen a better player, in my opinion, than Mike Miller. But Herro really needs that kick of, they need me. They need me, and I need to perform. Now, when it came to the Atlanta, we were blowing them out before he even had to come into the game. So I really don't think that the urgency was there for him. But seeing this team, seeing that Max is on the other side, James Harden, the player that he was almost traded for, apparently. And this is the team that apparently has the best young guard in the NBA, which is false. We have the best young guard in the NBA, and it shows. It really does. Tyler Herro does so much more than Maxey does in every capacity of the game. So enough of the comparisons, talking about him more individually now. Shooting 4 for 6, 9 for 17 on a day that we shot, 25% from three is not easy. You were called on to carry the offense. But the problem with Tyler Hero I have is, and a lot of people have the same problem with him, he really does struggle on the defensive side of the ball. Really doesn't know something, because he's so young still, he doesn't really understand the importance of that defense as much as he tries, because he definitely tries, but he needs to be a bit smarter on defense. He really gets lost on switches, doesn't close out fast enough. And also he's a smaller body, so he really couldn't impose his will as much as another defender could, like PJ Tucker or, even Gabe Vincent or Max Strus, who really are flourishing defensively. But as long as Hero's putting up 25 points a game, that's extremely impressive. So, big ups to Tyler. Hopefully he can bring it for game 2. I have no doubt he will. But, it's only going to get more interesting from here on out.
Right. And like I said before, you love to see it because Bam and Tyler, you're talking about the future of this organization. So to see those two, have great games, and it's just something nice to see. And then I know you brought up, George, about the whole Mike Miller comparison. It's funny to look at it because you know what? I love Shaq. I really do. And, shout outs to him for helping us get that ring in 06. But I feel like he just doesn't know too much about the Heat, which is kind of sad because I know he is part of that national media squad. But, it's just so I really don't know what to make of it, because for him to compare Tyler to Mike Miller of all people, and it's no diss to Mike Miller because we know how much of a Heat legend he is to us, especially in that 2013 finals. But it's just kind of crazy to think about. That's one thing. And then second of all, it just goes to show how people are still going to diss Tyler and still going to diss this team, Heat legend or not. So overall, it's just, you're just going to have to deal with it at this point. But overall, I can't wait to see what Bam and Tyler does throughout this series, because especially if DeAndre Jordan is going to keep playing, because if you guys didn't hear, Doc Rivers basically went out and said that he's still fine with starting DeAndre and giving him minutes. So if he wants to put him out there and let Bam treat him like he's nothing more but barbecue chicken, by all means necessary, leave him on the floor, because I'd love to see more Bam masterpieces in this series. And George, you said you want to add real quick?
Yeah, quickly to that point, DeAndre Jordan went for 2 for 2 last night, and the disrespect is ridiculous. He's one of the best up-and-coming big men in the NBA. And no, I'm just joking. I'm sorry. In all seriousness, he had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Sorry, no assists, 2 blocks, and still went negative 22. So, if he wants to put him out there, then on God, please let him play. For the love of God, let him play as many minutes, but give him Embiid minutes if you love him so much. But then post game, we also saw that Paul Reed came out and said that this team will flop.
That bomb.
Yeah, the guy that nearly fouled out. No disrespect, he's actually not that bad of a player. I really do enjoy watching him, and he shares the name with one of the greatest Heat players of all time, Willie Reed. If you don't remember, then you don't know. You don't know. But he said that if we play our game and we stop turning the ball over, that they'll flop and we'll win. This is the same guy that Doc Rivers said, I'm not about to have a Paul Reed parade. Your head coach doesn't believe in you. And regardless, your head coach is Doc Rivers, so I don't understand what he's talking about. But if we're looking at the overall move of what the NBA media is taking with us, that stance. Post game, we won the game in Miami. Now, that calls to talk about the Heat in some sort of way. No, I watched the post game show. It was all about how Philly can get back into the series. Now, Kenny, had some choice words, and Charles Barkley said there's no chance at all. But at the same time, Charles Barkley couldn't remember two of the players' names they had just played 10 minutes before that. So I don't even know what to say when it comes to him. But with Shaq, it's very disappointing because we have such little support in that higher up region, and it's such a blessing when we finally get to get talked about. But even when we're winning the playoff game, we're not even getting talked about. I think it's ridiculous. I think there's some bias. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's quite sad. So look, we're just going to deal with it as as we always do. We always put up with it. So it is what it is. But moving on.
Right. And Orchard, what's on your mind?
I don't want to go in too much in depth about it because it's probably going to take me. It would take me forever to say what I have to say. But you were talking about Doc Rivers, and I just want to point out what Kendrick Perkins said. I know he's not listening to this podcast, but he is absolutely ridiculous. I heard what he said. He was like something around Doc Rivers is going to outcoach Eric Spoelstra. That just honestly that pisses me off. I just don't like Doc Rivers. If I'm being honest with you, I feel like he's a bit of an overrated coach. I feel like he makes a lot of excuses for a lot of his losses he's had. I feel like he doesn't treat his players right. And I just don't think I feel like Eric Spoelstra is the complete opposite. He takes ownership for his losses and he's always supporting his teammates, doesn't try to throw them under the bus, anything like that. I just want to quickly bring that up.
No, for sure, because it was so funny because he mentions James Harden having this masterpiece game and like, okay, I get it. He's going to be the main guy now with them beat out. So if you honestly believe that, okay. But to say that Doc Rivers of all people, and I understand that he has his ties with Doc because, they were both part of that '08 championship team and everything. But to say that him of all people was going to outcoach Eric Spoelstra, like, are you serious? Like, he literally could have just stopped after that James Harden take, but he chose to keep going. So I don't know. And honestly, I'm just done with Kendrick Perkins because he's like the definition of rats off a ship. He's gonna say whatever makes him sound smart. And it's sad because I remember a couple seasons ago, like I was honestly, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I honestly thought the dude was starting to, embody Heat culture, the way how he was talking about, the goons from Dade County and everything. Like you were getting hyped from it. But now you fast forward and he's here talking about, this and that, and how friggin' Doc Rivers, like the fact that he said Doc Rivers, he literally could have said any other coach in the league, but he chose Doc friggin' Rivers as a take to say that he would outcoach Eric Spoelstra. Like, what am I supposed to make of that? So I don't even care about national media anymore. It's something that we've talked about for so long on this pod. And obviously it was disappointing to see the ignorance from Shaq as well. But, there's nothing we got to do at this point because at the end of the day, at least we have some smart people in the media that knows what they're talking about. People like JJ Redick and Tim Legler and all them. And then obviously you got the people from the local media as well. People here from 5 Reasons. So it's better off listening to people like them instead of these people who get paid a lot more money just to talk about the Lakers, the Nets, or whatever team that's currently in Cancun right now. But, I don't want to spend all day ranting about that. So let's just move right on. So let's get into the HEATMuse stat of the game. Before we get into it, make sure to follow HEATMuse on Twitter for all Miami Heat stats. His handle is HEATMUSE. And with that being said, although Max Strus didn't have the best night offensively, his impact to the team in game 1 was major. Strus was a plus 27 during the game, which was not only the highest plus minus on the Heat, but it also gives Strus the second best plus or minus in the playoffs, only being behind Giannis. With all of that being said, what do you guys make of this stat? Give us your thoughts, George.
I think it speaks to his defense in the plethora that he gives it to us because if you look at the plus minus of plus 27, that's very impressive going, 2 from 8 from the field. But only having 1 turnover and 1 foul, which is really important because he just didn't give up, ridiculous foul shots that the Philly bait and they want so badly because they can't play the game right half the time. But watching him play defense and the way he moves his feet, he's actually got quite an open stance, so it's quite hard to blow past him. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is hard to blow past him. But with Max Strus playing the way he is, he slides in right, that perfect 2 guard, in my opinion. While Duncan's an amazing shooter, we've rarely seen this talent at all. We've seen Steph Curry do what he's done, but I'm not calling Duncan Steph Curry. I'm just going to put that out there. But you know, the way he shoots is nothing short of incredible. But when you put Max Strus in there, he offers something that Duncan doesn't have, which is that intimidating reach, and he works so hard on that defensive end. He really is, one of the guys now. He is one of those, goons down in Miami. He really is. But watching him flourish, watching him play defense, when he shut down Jason Tatum close to the end of the season, it's perfect. And if he can just keep doing this, those numbers will go up. I think I read a stat the other day when he shoots anything less than 30%, the next day the next game he ends up shooting north of 50 something percent from the field, and he always takes around 8 to 10 shots a game minimum. So Max Strus will keep doing what he does, and if he's going to keep playing defense like that, it's just going to be perfect.
Right. And how about you, Orchard?
I think it's awesome. I would have really loved this. I just love seeing Strus hit threes. So I was a little bit disappointed that he didn't make. He had 3 points, but still, I still thought it was really impressive what his plus minus stat was. That's amazing. And I think one of my biggest concerns for Strus was in him starting the playoffs, especially, was his defense. But honestly, it was going to be a struggle of defense, whether we were having Robinson or Strusen. But I mean, Strus kind of proved me wrong here because his defense, I mean, I already said this before, but he held Harden to 1-5 shooting. And I think part of it might be Harden's has been struggling a little bit, but nevertheless, hey, you're holding a said superstar to 1-5 shooting. That's amazing. And I love to see his growth. I mean, he's been making some pretty big defensive plays throughout the season, especially when we don't expect it in clutch moments. I think, the charge, I think one of you were just talking about the Celtics game. He took the charge. He got a couple steals in clutch moments. And I love to see him start stepping up and becoming a better two-way player. And it's nice to know that even if he's struggling offensively, he can provide other aspects to us to help us win games.
Right. And that just goes to show how great Miami's development team has been, because for him to go out, I mean, like we said, he didn't have a good game, when you look at the offensive end, but, for him to hold, James Harden to 1 of 5 shooting, and then to have a plus 27 only being behind Giannis, it's just insane. And it just shows how great Miami's development team is, because keep in mind that 9 of our players on this roster right now was undrafted. It just goes to show that the Heat will do whatever it takes to make their team a championship contender. And the best part about it is that we don't need to tank. We don't need to tank and refer to it as a whole process the way how Philly does it. And I don't care that Embiid is playing or not. One thing that I'll say, and I want everyone to hear this, is that the culture is always going to be better than the process, because we're here and we're still competing. And even after everything that's happened, we're not relying on getting the number 1 pick. We're not relying on some random ping pong balls to decide our fate as a team. We're going out there, we're competing, we're bringing guys from the streets to play important minutes for us. And all of that is leading to us being at this point of the season, being here in the second round and hopefully the conference finals and beyond. So I don't know about y'all, but, I'd rather be the Heat than I'd rather be any other team who believes that this whole process thing, or whatever you want to call it, is the way to go, which is kind of garbage. Just literally call it tanking. It's not a process. It's not anything to really hype up. So I'm just saying that because the whole trust the process thing is garbage, when you really just should call it trusted tanking or whatever garbage that it should be referred to as. Anyways, that was just my quick rant for the day. But before we close this pod out, I feel like we addressed so much in this game 1 win for the Heat that it's now time to move on and look ahead to game 2. So after seeing the way how both teams performed, what's everyone's expectations as we get ready for the second game? Kick us off, Richard.
I think for one thing, I don't want us to have the same first half we did before. And see, this is the thing. When we go into blowing leads, I don't have a problem with it if it's in the first half. I know a lot of people get really upset about it, and we should be able to keep leads. But I feel like NBA as a whole has just started to develop into a game of runs where you're just going to have teams go on 19-0 runs, 20-0 runs, 25-0 run, whatever you want to say. It's just going to happen. It doesn't matter which team it is. I feel like we've seen so many teams blow leads, whether it's been a lower ranked team or a higher ranked team. So it's going to happen. My biggest concern when we blow leads is this when it's in the fourth quarter or late into the third. And that was one of my personal issues with the game. I want to say it was game 3. Yeah, game 3 against Atlanta, which was we had a big lead in the fourth quarter and we blew it. That's what worries me. If it's happening in the first quarter and second quarter, it's really not as big of a deal. It gives momentum to the Sixers, and we don't want that. But we know this team can turn a game around in just a couple of minutes, and that's what they did last game. But I really don't want to see us turning the ball over so much. Again, we had so many turnovers in the first half, and it was just hard. It was kind of hard to watch. Philly was kind of locking us up. Can't let that happen. And I'm kind of struggling to tell you what to do because we had so many great things that happened in game 1. And I honestly say we just replicate it. I'd love to see Bam still be as aggressive, Herro taking a lot more shots. But, if they don't score as much, I won't be too upset. I just hope that we have other guys like Strus and Vincent who struggled a bit offensively last game, who step up a little bit, maybe putting up 15 points or more. And, besides that, I don't really have much else to say. I think we're in good hands. Let's try to take a 2-0 lead because, I heard that Embiid could come back as early as game 3, which I want to just quickly touch on. I don't see it happening. You guys can give me your thoughts, but I was reading and, he had a similar injury a couple of years ago and he was out for 3 weeks. So to see that he could come back game 3, I feel like it's so high. It's highly unlikely. I feel like it's being announced just to give hope to a lot of Philly fans. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the soonest we could see him coming back is game 5.
Right.
But yeah, you guys can give me your thoughts.
For me personally, and I'll just quickly talk about that Embiid thing. For me, I don't think he should come back. I feel like it's a really risky thing. I feel like if the Heat do end up winning game 2, just close it out because there's no way I think the Heat are going to blow a 2-0 lead, especially to Philly of all teams. So if you're Embiid, there's no reason why you should put your body at risk. Just sit it out, get your thumb surgery, take care of, the orbital fracture, and just get ready for next season. Don't put yourself at risk for something that you probably can't save at this point in the season. So just, in my opinion, if we do win game 2, just end it for the season, in my opinion. And George, you?
Yeah, what I'm looking for in game 2 is just a more consistent output on the offensive side of the ball. And just to hold the ball a little better. I feel like we turn the ball over way too many really important situations. But let's be honest, our bench is not even close to being, it's so much better that I can't even put it into words. It really is. There's no comparison there. Our starting lineup, we've got the most amazing defensive crew we've had in I don't know how long, in Heat history, in my opinion. We've got the best defensive lineup we've ever had. So even without Lowry, I feel like we've got such a great chance of just closing it out at home for us now, then moving to Philly. But I don't see where they go from here. I really don't. Look, I definitely don't think they're shooting 17% from 3 next game. I really don't think they're going to turn the ball over 14 times again. Hopefully not. If I'm a Philly fan, you hope to God they're not going to do that again. But Tobias Harris already had 27. Maxey nearly had 20. James Harden's the only person that did, had the opportunity to really take it over and try and give them that 30 piece to get them over the hump. But James Harden isn't that player anymore. We've seen this. We know this. He isn't that player anymore. His Houston days are over, and people struggle to understand. But in that system where he was leading the league in touches per game and ball usage, it was really something to behold when you give a player that much power over a team and to let him go to work 38 minutes or 40 minutes a night. Really, it is. So I don't think he's going to be able to do what he wants against us. His foul baiting will only work as much as possible. They can, Philly fans can cry all they want about it, but I don't see where they go from here unless Tyrese Maxey gives them 48. I don't think they're going to they're going to really have a great chance, but I'm not going to count them out. I don't make predictions. I give guarantees. I guarantee we're going to play hard. I guarantee we're going to, we're going to try and close it out. We want this more than they do. And they're so demoralized without Embiid. Even with Embiid, I still think we have a really, really great chance of closing it out in 5. Without him, I really don't see how they win a game, let alone, make the series interesting. But look, we'll see what happens. It's, we've got a lot of fun against, had a lot of really good times, a lot of really scary times as well. But look, just hoping for a quick recovery from both, Lowry and Embiid. As much as people don't like to hear it, I like to have a fair series. And, when you take out, our point guard, our entire game changes, and they're getting rid of don't have their all-star caliber, so all-star MVP, everything like that. So speed of recovery from both of them, but I think that we've got more than enough that what it takes to really take it out.
Right. Overall, I already gave my opinions about Embiid, but for game 2, I expect the Heat to come out and win it because I expect Spo to look back at game 1, see whatever adjustments he has to make to, make this an even easier one for the Heat. So we'll see what happens, but overall, like I said, culture over process. So I want another good win for the Heat and just take care of business when we head to Philly for games 3 and 4.
That needs to be a hashtag.
Huh?
That needs to be a hashtag, process or culture over process.
I mean, that could be, because it's true, but, we got to make that trend. So hashtag culture over process. Let's make that a thing, y'all. But anyways, we talked so much on today's episode that before we close it out, make sure to follow our Twitter and Instagram page at HBTW Podcast while checking out our website at hbtwpodcast.wordpress.com. That way you still have access to 24/7 Miami Heat content, even when we're not recording a new episode. Also, we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode because we'll be recording a new episode after every playoff victory for the Heat, meaning that if God is willing, we'll have at least 11 more episodes to record before we officially wrap up season 2 of Heat versus the World. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Heat versus the World podcast, and we'll see you guys soon with another episode. Hit my music because we out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat versus the World podcast.